All right, folks, Yishai Fleischer here at the beautiful JNS Conference in Jerusalem. It's huge. It's massive. There's a lot of people here. And my first interview is a guy I've been looking forward to really hanging out with and drinking coffee with and getting some laughs in as well. And that's Ami Kozak. Ami, shalom.
Shalom aleichem, aleichem shalom. Mr. Fleischer, how are we doing?
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. We're doing so good. It's so fun to be here in Jerusalem, isn't
Absolutely.
it? It's great to have you as well. I mean, this conference is so big that it draw you out of America, and I know you're very comfortable there.
As long as we're on the right side of the green line, I'm comfortable.
He's trying to start up with me here. Ami, let's actually start with a little bit of serious stuff.
Sure.
Right now, as you and I are having our lattes here in Jerusalem, fighters in the north are fighting, and there's a negotiation trying to link up Iran with Lebanon, as though somehow Iran is in control of Lebanon, as though the Americans who were 5 minutes ago on our side, now we're somehow trying to fight them off. That's the way, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, that's the way we feel, as though like, oh my God, we now have to somehow get these guys to not let us hand over Lebanon to Iran. How do you understand JD Vance? How do you understand Trump? That's what, one of the biggest subtexts here at the conference. What happened to Trump?
First of all, it's quite the admission that Iran retaliates on behalf of Lebanon, doesn't it? Because the entire case that we've been making, that Bibi's been making, that Israel's been making, is that there is a terrorist proxy network surrounding Israel, compromising Israel's security, and for Iran to retaliate on behalf of Hezbollah, or for Hezbollah to retaliate on behalf of Hamas, only proves that they're all connected with the same agenda and the same motive.
Right.
And therefore, that's the war that Israel's been facing. And it should make no apologies for asserting its responsibility as a government to protect its citizens. Now, there are various different games being played. There's a diplomatic game, there's a media game, there's a narrative game. The priority in my mind is always a government's ultimate, fundamental, essential responsibility to protect its civilians, and not sacrifice its soldiers or its civilians to appease some narrative, some message, some PR campaign. So as long as you prioritize victory over approval, I think you'll get a fair amount of both in the long run. And whenever that's compromised, even when Israel makes those mistakes, then you get less of it. Now, as far as Trump is concerned, Trump's a package deal. He's a chaotic, unpredictable guy, and therefore I think I have a lot of hakaras hatov, and I'm very grateful for the fact that most of his sort of antics have been very favorable to Israel and the Jewish people in ways that no president ever has before. And I do think ultimately he's been on the right side of this civilizational war when it comes to fighting jihad and fighting radical Islamic terrorism. Trump stands on the right side of that. How he decides to play it in terms of his salesmanship and his charm, I don't think it's wise to be ultimately reactive the second his chaotic nature doesn't go our way, doesn't favor our way. For all we know, next week, another tweet goes out and says, deal's off, they're disgusting people, I can't deal with them, they're closing the strait, we're going to take it back, these people are animals, whatever he wants to say, like that could happen next week, and then what? We're all of a sudden, okay, never mind. So we have to be a little more stable and reasonable and play the long game. And I'd say the best thing to do when it comes to Trump is wait and see how the actions reflect the rhetoric.
Where did you become so wise? God, that was like 2.5 minutes of wisdom there, and I actually do agree with you 100%. I really do, and I myself am very cautious to not now start talking in such a way as that there's this rift. That's like media stuff, you know what I mean? Like they would love to show that rift between Netanyahu and Trump and all that kind of stuff. And Prime Minister Netanyahu was here at the conference at JNS Jerusalem, and he said clearly, without a lot of rancor, he said, and I heard him yesterday also at the Yoni Netanyahu 50-year anniversary of his fall. He said, look, no matter what the diplomatic issues are, I've got to make sure that one, there's going to be a buffer zone with Lebanon, and two, that Iran's not going to have a nuclear bomb. And he really stayed clear out of rhetoric that's troublesome. One of the things that you asked me before we started recording is about people like Minister Ben Gvir, and you said you asked me whether I thought that some of his rhetoric, which is a little bit more acerbic, using an SAT word there, is that helpful? Why don't you sharpen that question?
Yeah, well, I'll just wrap up on what we talked about before, and we'll get to Ben Gvir. I think one of the big mistakes you can make, you can say, oh, what Trump's doing isn't a good look, what JD Vance has been saying isn't good. I think another not good look is to treat all of these people as simply tools at our bidding and our disposal, and the second they veer off script or off of a way we would like them to say things, we dismiss them entirely.
Very
I don't
good point.
think you should be so reactive.
Yeah.
It's a complicated business.
But let me challenge you on that. I really agree with you, and I would advise whoever I can advise in the same way.
Yes.
But I would only challenge you to say, but isn't that exactly what rhetoric we're getting from JD Vance? Isn't that exactly the kind of, he's giving us this kind of rhetoric, like you guys are out of control, and I got to rein you in. He's got an acerbic language towards Israel. Listen, Israelis don't like that.
All I'm talking about is the language of binary condemnation or approval. Like either he's our hero or he's the villain.
Right.
I think you can respond. You don't have to underreact, but you don't have to overreact. You can just react and say, all right, respectfully disagree. And I saw people sharing clips of him that actually were fairly reasonable, even if I didn't agree with it, painting him as mask off, traitor. And I'm like, look, guys, like, America and Israel are allies. They're not the same country with identical interests. We know this. And I've heard people say how grateful Israel is to America in the context of support. And then the second we say, listen, they should be grateful because we've given them a lot, and then we get offended by that, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Now, on the Ben-Gvir point, I was curious to you because, there is this caricature that Israel's constantly portrayed at in the media, in the world, and the best thing you can hand over to Israel's worst critics is sometimes that caricature.
What is that caricature?
They love moral equivalency. There's nothing the media that despises Israel loves more than pointing to the extremes of Israel society to say, see, it's all just this conflict. You got Hamas, but you also have Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who are just despicable. That's Pierce for you.
Right, Pierce.
Now what I'll say is this. Fine, I'll grant you. Let's say I concede the point for argument's sake. If you took out Ben-Gvir and Smotrich from the equation and replaced them with left-wing hippies, nothing would change. If anything, Israel, I think, would be in far more danger if you replaced everyone with peaceniks. If you took out all of the extreme ideology figures in Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, everything would change. So ultimately, I don't really think it matters, but the question is, when people are trying to have this out and have this debate, does this give them fodder? Does the kind of immature tactics, of going up to a little protester and smacking them on the back, do I think ultimately matters? I don't know, but is it helpful? I'm not so sure.
Okay, so
Might be unprofessional.
Well, we're in conversation on this, so I'm not making some kind of decisive point. I would just say, isn't it true though that we have tried the appeasement type politicians for a long time, and they yielded nothing. We got nobody from the left on our side. Nobody appreciated Israel, and so in a sense, it's like maybe looking like a tough, out of control country that you don't always cannot always hem in, because that was what the previous diplomacy was. You can hem us in, we're hemmed in. Look, we're good, they're bad, right? Maybe like Balabay Ishtageh, which means like the homeowner has gone crazy, like Crazy Eddie type thing. Remember Crazy Eddie when we were kids?
I would simply say that there is a third option: assertive, strong, confident, unapologetic, and professional. Right. You don't have to resort to being a yeshiva bacher who's like, off the rails, out of the base midrash, I think the third option might be the best, which is, staunch, professional, and unapologetic, and then your position is actually taken more seriously.
I hear you, Ami. I hear you 100%. But we have the politicians that we have. To get a politician like Ben-Gvir through the system, up through the ranks of what is essentially a blue state. Okay, essentially Israel is a blue state, and to get his redness through, and that he's also proven himself with all the so-called antics and clowning around, has proven himself to be a very adroit and successful politician in actual policy, not just in statements.
Yishai Fleischer, the best word.
Okay? He has been successful. And so, to me, I just say to people, you know how they say about Trump, you don't take him literally, but you take him seriously? It's like to me, it's like Ben-Gvir.
Same memo.
He is a very serious, he's gotten real policies down, real laws down that have changed. I had
maybe there's a difference between effective and persuasive. You might get a lot more people on board with a message if it's delivered professionally and respectfully. And I'm not talking about apologetically, Otherwise, sometimes you can isolate with the success that he may have for himself in terms of rising in the ranks, and ultimately that may be the ultimate consequential thing. That's the ultimate goal. This is politics. but it could also risk isolating a lot of people who otherwise could be made to be persuaded on a message that one could say is a little too extreme, but only because it's packaged in such a way that feels like people should just dismiss it.
Well, he is the boogeyman, right? He is definitely the boogeyman, and people like Piers Morgan use him as the boogeyman, the evil,
the false equivalency.
Right.
I'm like, you're offended by two guys? What about entire nations that talk like that?
Right.
Are you kidding me? How about every single school in Gaza that talks about burning every Yahud to the ground? And one line from Ben Gvir about Lebanon burning, referring to Hezbollah terrorists using strong language, Middle Eastern language, offends you? I find that a very strange inconsistency.
Ami, you're here in Jerusalem at the JNS Conference. It's a beautiful conference, large. We're at the Waldorf Astoria in Yerushalayim. That by itself is pretty cool, that there's a Waldorf in a rebuilt Jerusalem, and that it's drawing people like you, and you live still in the diaspora. I'm trying to convince you to buy a house here.
He hasn't let me go the whole time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, I really do believe that people should buy a house here. What's your... Give me a snapshot of what it's like to be in Jerusalem, what it's like, what it's like to think about American Jewry from here, or to think about Israeli Jewry from inside here, the rebuilding of Yerushalayim.
It's a lot of Jews. It's a lot of Jews.
It's a lot of Jews.
It's like you go to communities, but here, I mean, it's amazing because in Jerusalem in particular, it's the melting pot of Jewry. So you see everybody, which is great. Driving around Jerusalem, it's my first time doing that. I have a car here, and it's like you're in a parking lot, like you're in a Frum parking lot. People go in reverse everywhere. At any moment in time, highway, anytime, it's like a little haunted house of Jews. So you got to be careful there.
It's true. It's totally true. That was not an exaggeration.
And there's a thrilling discomfort in a sense here, and an eerie comfort of the diaspora.
Wow.
So when you're in America or in the diaspora, it's comfortable and it's eerie. You kind of have a sense that the projected future is uncertain. What's being tolerated at the cultural level, the political level, is very, very uncomfortable. And even though in the immediacy and the day by day things are comfortable, that's a dangerous comfort.
Right.
Here, there's danger, and materially, physically, in some ways, you don't feel that. You feel protected. You feel strong. You feel confident. And I like that.
Come out to our parts, you'll feel a little less confident. But I'm just joking. But Jerusalem, it's important for people to know. Anybody who comes here knows Jerusalem's not a calm place. There's an electric vibe here, an energy. It could be fun. It could be thrilling. I love it personally. People who love Manhattan, for example, will love Jerusalem. If you like energetic places, it's quite energetic.
There's no building that's quite finished construction-wise. They do a lot of construction, and by the time they get to about 75%, they say, "Yofi, it's fine. Wires, things. Just watch out for that."
It's true. It's true. And yet, Ami, my argument is that the two biggest markers and trajectories that we got to be looking out for is one, the building of Jerusalem.
Yes.
That's Jewish goal, hope, prayer for 2,000 years.
And Chabad. That's what they want. That's why they started the Iran war.
It's Tucker. Tucker's come out. Tucker's come to join us.
Anyway.
And the other thing is, there's something Tucker never talks about, the ingathering of the exiles. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening also in the hospitals with the babies being born. It's happening like the exiles of 2,000 years are being gathered in.
Amen.
Do you feel it?
I feel it. There's something in the air. I mean, there's the October 7th, the October 8th. There's a shift. God has come down and said, "Hey guys, wake up."
Ami Kozak, you're also going to be on stage here. You're going to do some comedy. There's Sponder is here as well.
Yep, we're going to do a little panel with some other influencers and a comedy panel with Yishai Sponder, and I'll be performing at the Museum of Tolerance Theater Wednesday night, June 24th, and in Tel Aviv, June 25th.
That is just awesome. Yeah. And what your performance is also music? It's other stuff?
A little bit of everything. It's the full show.
All right. Ami Kozak, thank you so much for being with us here at JNS Conference Jerusalem 2026. God bless you. Keep up the good work.